Hi, Will Schweller here to showcase the highlight fine art lots in Clark Auction's May 1st sale. We'll start up here with this great oil on paper laid down to canvas by the French second wave impressionist Maximilien Lus. Here we've got a steamboat cruising down a river. I think the brush strokes are really fantastic here. I love the smoke kind of cascading off in blues and pinks. Now, there is a bit of condition issues, but otherwise the work is in good condition. Comes from a New York City collection being sold in this month's sale with a $2,000 to $3,000 estimate. Below it, something that came in during one of our Walk-In Wednesday appraisal events, is this great Angel Bateo lino cut of a figure with a tree. Works trademark Bateo in both the depiction of the figures and the palette. These blues and yellows and sort of earth tones are pretty regularly present in his printed work as well as his paintings. Like I said, the pieces from a local collection came in during one of our Walk-In Wednesday events, being sold with an $8,000 to $12,000 estimate. To its left, we've got one of the real highlight lots of the sale, a nice mixed media work on paper by Thomas Hart Benton. The piece depicts a silver mine in Colorado, or depicting Silver Mine, Colorado. The work has gallery labels as well as a Christie's Lot sticker on the back. It comes from a Manhattan collection, and I think it's just fantastic in its details. You get some of the sort of undulations. Notice that here in the electrical telephone pole there, that are trademark Benton. Really nice Western scene. Being sold with an $8,000 to $12,000 estimate. Above it, we've got another nice American work on paper. This a floral still life by Carl Sprinchorn. The artist's floral still lifes are always popular. This comes from a New York City collection. It's being sold with a $500 to $700 estimate. Great colors, framed well behind glass. Really nice package. I'm going to pop to the other side of the mirror here to look at two great American lithographs. The first, a work by John DeMartelli titled Old Moon. Nice regionalist American scene here of a woman playing a guitar, fellow reclining in the hay. I think the lighting's really interesting, sort of getting like underlit there as the moon's reflecting off the water. Nice American piece, comes from a local collection up in Scarsdale, being sold with a $300 to $500 estimate. And above it from the same collection, we've got another Thomas Hart Benton. This, of course, a lithograph titled Island Hay. It's a classic Benton print depicting farm workers here hard at work, scything hay. Again, I mentioned undulations in the drawing. You really see them here in both the clouds and the scythe and the hay. Really great print for an artist known for his printed work, being sold with a $2,000 to $3,000 estimate. Sliding over here, we've got two nice oils. The first, a winter landscape by the German painter Elisabeth von Eycken. It's done on canvas, laid down to board. We've got a bit of crack allure and probably a sky and snow that would benefit from a light cleaning. But a really fantastic landscape by a nice female artist. Comes from a Carmel, New York collection, and we're selling it with a $6,000 to $9,000 estimate. Above it from Long Island, we have a great Edward Moran, 19th, early 20th century American artist known for his coastal landscapes and seascapes. Here we've got fishers coming in from a hard day's work or heading out. Great tones in the clouds there, oranges, pinks, sort of like a sherbet. Really well executed sailing boats, sort of a trademark of the artist. Nice painting being sold with a $4,000 to $6,000 estimate. Here on the other side of the office, we have the first of three works by Roy Lichtenstein, all one triptych, As I Opened Fire, something we've sold before in the past. It was published by the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, and is trademark Lichtenstein, appropriating comic book scenes. Here we've got a fighter pilot shooting. This is actually the middle panel of three. We'll touch on the others later, but you'll see as we move through the gallery that one of them is pencil signed, which is sort of a rarity for this triptych. Above the piano here on the other side of the wall, we have probably my favorite painting in the sale, a really fantastic neo-expressionist piece by the late Puerto Rican master Arnaldo Roche Rebel. The work comes from a collection up in Stanford, and here we see these really sort of anguished-looking figures, really bold passages of color that are what Rebel did so well, as well as these foliate forms. You see these motifs repeated in a lot of his paintings. This really commands the room. Nice large canvas from 1991, signed and dated down here in the lower left. There is a bit of crack allure, but the painting is quite stable. Like I said, presents really, really well. Being offered this month with a $20,000 to $30,000 estimate. To its left, above the door here, we've got the first panel of the Liechtenstein As I Opened Fire triptych, which we'll just move over quickly, to a nice little pastel on paper by the Swedish artist Einar Nerman, known for his depictions of children in folk costumes. Really charming little piece from a New York City collection, being sold with a $400 to $600 estimate. Below it, we've got this great agam print on plexi, depicting the Star of David. Yaakov Agam being an Israeli artist known for his op art pieces. I really love his editions like this and his agamagraphs that are sort of textured, and when you look at them at different angles, produce fascinating visual effects. This from a New York City collection is being sold with an $800 to $1,200 estimate. Below, we've got a fun work, a seriograph on canvas by Steve Kaufman, of course, depicting Marilyn Monroe. Kaufman worked at a time in Warhol's studio where he picked up a lot of great screen printing techniques. His practice is sort of Warhol-esque in its appropriation of popular figures, pop art themes to create these really striking visual pieces. This seriograph is being sold with a $600 to $900 estimate. Now here in the middle, we've got a really great George McNeil painting from 1979 titled Night Dress 2. Signed, titled, and dated on the back, and signed and dated in the lower right. Comes from a collection outside of Washington, D.C. It's a really excellent example of McNeil's later work. The artist died in '95, so actually this is a fairly mature painting, not too late, where he's taking these sort of interesting abstracted figures and placing them in a sort of ambiguous field. In the 50s, he was working primarily abstractly, but 60s and 70s, figuration starting to re-enter his practice. I think these paintings are super interesting, really fresh today. This might benefit from a bit of a cleaning. There has been a little bit of past restoration. You see some patches on the back if you take a look at our catalog. But all in all, a really excellent piece by an artist we've sold before, one I quite like. This work has a $5,000 to $7,000 estimate. To its left, we've got a real interesting piece here, a watercolor signed A. Derain, which suggests it might be by André Derain. The work has not, to our knowledge, been evaluated, so we're selling it simply as signed A. Derain, but it certainly bears resemblance to a lot of the works on paper and even oils you see by the artist, the great Fauve painter, of course, focusing on trees and their role in the landscape. This piece is being sold with a $1,000 to $1,500 estimate, but it's one that I really quite like. Above it, we've got a small but mighty Rauschenberg, Robert Rauschenberg. Interesting mixed media piece here from 1988. It's solvent transfer, watercolor, gouache on Japanese dedication board. The work's dated 1988 and dedicated to a fellow named Brian. Comes from a Carmel collection. It is in the inventory of the Rauschenberg Foundation. Really nice work. I think these plant forms are great, sort of similar to what you're seeing in Rauschenberg's Kyoto series. Piece is being sold with an $8,000 to $12,000 estimate. Above it, from a Long Island collection, we've got a nice little still life by the American still life painter, 19th century artist Joseph Ord, depicting here a melon and some other fruit, grapes, and I think a peach down there in the lower right. Nice example of the artist's work, sort of small scale, being sold with a $1,000 to $1,500 estimate. We'll wrap up in this gallery with that third and final panel from the Roy Lichtenstein As I Opened Fire triptych. Of course, here we see the artist's signature in the lower right. A really fantastic grouping of 3 prints for anyone interested in this master of 20th century American art. $2,000 to $3,000 estimate for the triptych. Here in the main gallery, we've got a really interesting mix of works. We've got 2 paintings by a contemporary artist named Leah Halloran, this depicting the Challenger space shuttle, and a number of really great but either unsigned or allegedly signed abstract paintings. We've got 2 here, one sort of in a Pollock-esque splatter paint, and the above it something more reminiscent of the Washington School color field painting. We've got a couple works by Salvador Dali, this is a nice color etching, as well as about 8 lots of prints by Al Hirschfeld, Here we've got George Gershwin and Marilyn Monroe sold together as a grouping. We're selling the prints in pairs, and then one lot is a grouping of 3. Here we've got a print, Leroy Neiman, depicting Sinatra in concert. Came from a New York collection. Above it, a Ben Shahn work of a phoenix. This large abstract here is another one of those kind of mystery pieces. Really heavy application of paint, great colors, a nice piece, signed, I believe, on the back. And above it, a really nice abstract by the female artist Miriam Shapiro, done in 1959, when the artist was working in oils. She later worked more in sort of assemblage and textiles, but this is a really cool late 50s abstract. To its right, we've got a great Sidney Gross as well, an artist we've been selling a lot of recently. Here, I think really fantastic colors and a nice livable scale. Here we've got a nice, almost WPA style painting by John DeForest Stull of Newspaper Boys. Collection over in Jersey. Above it, a nice coastal landscape by Ben Ben. And above that, another Salvador Dali, this of Capricorn, perfect for the astrologically minded. To their right, we've got probably one of the nicer Gino Hollander abstracts to come on the market of late. Now, often you'll get female forms or human figures, but this is a more purely abstract work from the 70s. Next to a really great Dan Lutz painting of a horse and an old farmhouse. It could be a California scene, the artist did paint out there. And above it, 2 good Parisian scenes by Charles Cobel, sort of Dufy-esque landscapes, really colorful, really whimsical. Nice forest scene by Hofstrup, and above it a great Mexican landscape by an artist named Enrique Sanchez. Sort of photorealist scene of the Val de Mexico. Flanked by a really great Gladys Rockmore Davies painting of a nude and an unsigned sort of interesting feast scene here, kind of a bacchanal. Great large Suzanne Demarest painting, as well as some nice 19th century European scenes. Here we've got a great 19th century portrait by an artist named Cora Richardson. Scoot this over for you to take a look at. Comes from a collection locally. I think the textile works really great. A nice female painter painting in 1878. And another one of my favorites from a Long Island collection here, great European school painting of John the Baptist. Really excellent modeling here on the torso. Just the face of a little sheep peeking out there. Just to reiterate that we are working with John the Baptist. Here you'll see a sampling of more of the Al Hirschfeld groupings. Some familiar faces, Charles Chaplin, Al Hitchcock. And then another one of the sort of mystery abstracts, really, I think a nice competent piece here. Coming in with a $600 to $900 estimate, but we don't know who the artist is. It is signed Verso Booth. And we'll wrap up here with this large, interesting history painting depicting the Opium Wars. So as you can see here, we've got several European armies sieging a Chinese city. Rather gruesome scene here, but really fantastic detail. Sort of a lot to look at, a lot to take in, on a rather large scale. Really showcases sort of interesting work that comes through our doors and is featured in our sale. You know, as always, we only really scratch the surface. We've got great work ranging from the 16th, 17th centuries to today. So please do check out our catalog at www.clarkny.com. While you're there, please take note of our both our May 19th online-only auction, as well as the great sale we're already starting to put together for June. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.